Hi, Neil Gittleman here, Artistic Director and Conductor of your Dayton Philharmonic Orchestra with Piano Bench Chat number 79 for the month of September. And as I'm recording this, it is September 1st, the very first day of the month of September. And I thought it was important to do it early for two reasons. One, because August's got out kind of late, but second of all, September is a very important time of the year for me and for all of my colleagues at the DPAA, because it's when we feel the beginning of the new season. Yeah, a couple of days ago, we've had auditions in the last 2 days of August to get a couple of wonderful new members into the orchestra, but September 1st somehow feels like the beginning of the new cycle of making music and making art. And so I thought it was important to start the cycle with a piano bench chat. And in this piano bench chat, I'm really going back sort of to the beginning of when this all started, all the way back in the dark days of the pandemic, when I started a new morning routine of music in my life, what a friend of mine calls my daily musical hygiene. What I do every day is I sit down at the piano and do what I just did, play through a Bach chorale. That was the Bach chorale called Freue dich sehr, o meine Seele, from Cantata number 32. And the edition of the Bach chorales that I use has the four voices written out on four different lines, each line in a different clef, which means that playing these Bach chorales from what we call open score is kind of a bit of a mind game, and it's a good way to wake up the mind early in the morning and get me ready for the day. So I start with a Bach chorale, then I continue with Bach. I work on part of Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier. Right now I'm doing a prelude or a fugue each week, and I play through it every day and then try to work on it and see if I can get it better. It's really hard. It doesn't usually get that much better during the week. And after I finish with the Well-Tempered Clavier, I pick up some score reading. Right now I'm working my way through the Mozart symphonies. Today it was the second movement of symphony number, I think it was number 13. Yep, symphony number 13. Mozart was 15 years old when he wrote it. What were you doing when you were 15 years old? Probably not working on your 13th symphony. And after that, I'm sort of ready to get going with the day. Before I leave this Bach chorale, and you'll see I'm wearing my Bach t-shirt in honor of it, I just wanted to share one little thing with you about this particular chorale. So the Bach chorales, they're church hymns, okay? So they're Bach's harmonizations of the various hymn tunes that would be sung as part of the Lutheran liturgy in Bach's day. And they're lots of different ways that any given hymn tune can be harmonized in four parts for a choir to sing. But Bach's are always just really cool. Like, for instance, that very last phrase of that chorale I played you. The melody goes like this. Now, there are any number of ways that someone could set that melody in four-part harmony. Here, for instance, is one possible way. Perfectly good, no mistakes, I hope, and just kind of a plain, ordinary way of doing it, but very nice, nothing wrong with it. Perfectly nice, kind of like what you might hear in church sometime. But that's not what Bach does. Bach writes interesting lines for the inner voices, like the tenor sings this. The alto sings this. And together they sound like this. Kind of nice. And when you put it all together, here's what Bach's version of that final phrase sounds like. And I hope you'll hear it's much more interesting than what I played just a minute ago. got those little moving lines, but most importantly is what he does near the end. And lands on this juicy and dissonant chord. What I played before was, but Bach does this, which then lets him resolve that dissonance. It's like back in the old days of Saturday Night Live when Chevy Chase would say, "I'm Chevy Chase and you're not." Well, he's Johann Sebastian Bach and we're not. Bach is just amazing. And speaking of Bach, what's left on my music stand right now is one of the pieces I'm going to be studying today. It's from our first concert of the season. And one of the exciting things about what's going on now is the season is getting going. We have our first concert coming up in a couple of weeks with the wonderful Brandon Patrick George as flute soloist. And then after that, the very next week, we have a rock and orchestra show with the music of Fleetwood Mac. And I will have a nice big stack of, in fact, I have it already, a nice big stack of Fleetwood Mac scores. I won't get to them today, but probably tomorrow I will start working my way through them. And then the week after that, we have our first Pops concert of the season with Camille Zamora and the Mambo Kings, a wonderful, wonderful show. And there's a stack of music for that, which should be arriving first thing next week. So I've got a lot of work ahead of me, but today I'm going to be working on the first and last movements of the flute concerto by Christopher Rouse that Brandon Patrick George will be playing with us. And you're not going to hear the flute part. I'm just going to be playing on the piano, the orchestral accompaniment. But it's interesting because what Rouse has written is a little bit like a Bach chorale, except it's very, very slow. So I will get to work on that. And in the meantime, I will thank you for joining me for Piano Bench Chat number 79, and have a great month of September. I hope you will spend some of it, at least a few nights during September, with us at the Dayton Philharmonic at the Schuster Center as we get our season going. It's great to be back playing music for you again. And as I say, hope to see you at the Schuster. Have a great month, and I'm going to turn my attention to Mr. Rouse right now, if you don't mind.